This is Marriage on the Half Shell, Raw and Exposed. So we kind of alluded to what we were going to be covering this time when we had our little mini addendum a week ago. And we spent some time talking about this, thinking about this particular topic. And the title of tonight's podcast is Stop Drifting and Start Steering. So, if you think about, I always think about a boat right?
Okay.
Think about a boat and you have to steer it if you want it to go someplace. You have to have a goal. If you just put the boat in the water and let it float around, you're going to end up where you don't want to be. So, the kind of, I guess you'd say the inspiration for tonight's discussion.
Yeah, inspiration.
Came from a couple of encounters we've had over the past couple of months. Some couples who have been married about as long as we have, maybe a little longer. They're encountering the whole empty nest thing right now, or at least very close to it. And they're miserable. They're not happy. And what we want to cover is, A, how to avoid that scenario. But B, if that's where you found yourself, it doesn't have to be that way. You can recover your marriage and make it better than it is.
Right.
Make it much better than it is.
Yeah. And the answer is the same for both.
It is for both. The answer is the same for both.
Okay.
But I think the habits we're going to discuss, it's easier for a newlywed couple to go, oh, okay, well, those are some things we should do right, and we should just start doing them now, right? Because it's kind of what we did.
Right.
So
and you should
most
do
of
these
it, right?
habits.
Yes.
Once we talk about it.
Right. But for the older couple that's been sitting across the table from each other for 30 plus years, it can be a little daunting,
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
But what is life without challenge?
Right.
If we don't have any challenges, then life is just boring.
You're not growing.
And you're not growing.
Right.
So.
Okay. So what we've heard from both couples. I'm not happy anymore. That it's the wrong mindset for your marriage. Happiness should not be your goal. It should not. And I know that sounds backwards, sort of.
As defined by...
the culture.
Well, the culture, which is immediate pleasure,
yes.
Feel good.
Yeah.
Right. That sort of thing.
Right.
Okay.
So
that
yeah.
is happiness should not be the goal.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where if you pursue the goal, happiness, or make the goal happiness, and you pursue that, then you won't get what you need and you won't achieve happiness.
Right.
But if you pursue something else, you'll get that thing plus happiness.
Okay. Everybody who's been listening knows that I think in visuals.
Go for it.
Yeah, I just had one. So if you're chasing happiness, you are a dog chasing his tail. You are spinning around in circles, and then you catch it, and then what do? Well, now you're happy, right? You caught your tail, right? For the second that you caught your tail, right? Now you're happy.
Yep.
But a dog thrives in an environment where he is challenged and trained and can be a protector and does all the things that dogs are supposed to do. Dogs were not bred to chase their tails. We were not bred, we were not put here, however you want to say it, to chase happiness a little piece at a time. That is not what this life is about.
Not that type of happiness.
No.
Right.
So constantly chasing happiness, you're never going to be content. It's always going to be something. And I've struggled with this, women, I don't know. I think men struggle with it, but
Sure.
For me, it's, maybe if I go shopping, I'll feel better, or if I eat the ice cream, I'll feel better, or if I, whatever it is,
Sure.
and sure, that's going to make me feel good for the 5 minutes or whatever until I come home with a shopping bag full of stuff and you see it and go, why did you spend all that money? And then I'm not happy anymore, or I eat that pint of ice cream and then step on the scale. I'm not happy anymore. But I was temporarily happy. I was chasing my tail.
Yeah.
And I caught it. But then I had to let go and go on with my life. So my spouse doesn't make me happy anymore. Right? This is a BS way to, I'm not going to say the bad word. It's a BS way to look at your marriage. Right? It's because you've chosen to only see the bad things about your spouse. You're making that choice on a daily basis.
I think this kind of falls into that category of what we talked about, where you're only worried about how happy you are.
Yes.
And you're not worried about, you're not thinking about your spouse.
Yeah.
And then you begin to, your mindset changes.
Yes.
Because your spouse isn't making you happy.
Yeah. And that's what you think.
And maybe they're not.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
But the point is, you're getting into this mindset that we've talked about before, where you begin to have contempt for
Yes.
them because you think they should meet all your needs.
Yes.
You should be happy. It becomes more and more about you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is husbands or wives. It can happen.
We've
right?
seen it happen to both spouses
Both sides.
and marriages.
It's
Yeah.
just about what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so not only do you not get what you want, but your spouse doesn't get what they want. All right.
And you're drifting.
And you're just kind of drifting.
Yes. So, I mean, if you think about it this way, as parents, something that we frequently say is, I want my kids to be happy. That's not really something I said, because it's not really something I completely believe in. I want them to have content lives where they feel like they're pursuing their goals and accomplishing things. I don't want this chasing their tail happiness. I don't want that.
Yeah,
So
you could say we want them to be happy. The other definition of happy.
yes, the other definition of
Which is the contentment, the joy, the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Their life has meaning.
There you go. That's the word. Meaning.
Yeah.
I want my kids to find meaning. Like, I've heard these parents say, I tell my kids they can do anything. My kids didn't hear that from me. Not one time.
Right.
They didn't hear that from me. What they heard was, you have gifts. Everybody does. Everybody has been given gifts. What we need to do is figure out what your gifting is and pursue it so that you can have a meaningful life. That is what I told my kids. I never said to them, I want you to be happy, or you can do anything. That's Disney nonsense. I can't. No.
I mean, not everybody can play basketball.
No.
Or baseball.
Well,
or be an actor and be rich.
I was a swimmer in high school, right?
Or be a swimmer.
I was a swimmer. I'm still a decent swimmer. Like, I was told that maybe I could get a scholarship to go swimming, right? But I'm not Michael Phelps, 6'4" with gorilla arms. It wasn't going to happen.
Sure.
That was never going to be everything that I was going to pursue,
Right.
So, anyway, but okay. So you say that about your kids. We've gone way off track here. You say that about your kids. I want my kids to be happy,
here.
right?
We're not talking about parenting per se.
No.
But it's an example.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So you say that about your kids. I want my kids to be happy. When was the last time you said that about your spouse? I want my spouse to be happy. I don't hear that many married couples expressing that sentiment at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's point right to the end of this,
Right.
and then we'll talk about how we get there.
Okay.
Right, is one spouse saying, I love making my spouse happy.
Yes.
It makes me happy to make my spouse happy.
Yes.
And then also, my spouse loves to make me happy.
Yes. Yes.
And it makes them happy
Yeah.
to make me happy.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how you get a strong marriage. And if you want your kids to be happy, then don't make them the center of your marriage.
No.
We've probably talked about this before, but I'll just say it. Don't make them the center of your marriage.
Right.
You have a strong marriage, and they'll be secure, and then you train them, as you said before, to find their gifting and meaning.
Yeah.
Right.
So while you shouldn't be demanding that your spouse make you happy, you also need to be careful that you're not making your home miserable, because that's just going to make both of you unhappy, right?
Well, sure.
You know,
I mean, what do you mean? Like you're trying to...
if you are constantly only seeing the negative things in your spouse, and you're never encouraging them, and you're never complimenting, I mean, we're going to go into all this here, you know, in a minute here, but if you're never doing any of those things, then you're going to have a miserable home. And, you know,
Right.
yeah, we're still together and the kids still see us together, but do the kids see you together and thriving and trying to build
Right.
your relationship? Is that what they see? Or do they just see, you know, we just finished Stranger Things, right? And one of the couples in there, mom slept in bed and dad slept in the lazy boy. Come on. That's not,
Oh, yeah.
that's not a happy relationship. That's not a content marriage at all. You know,
No,
they're
certainly
roommates.
not.
They're roommates. And
Yeah,
your
pretty
kids
much.
could see you still occupying the same house, but if you're roommates, they're not going to be any more secure than they would be if you just quit, honestly.
Yeah, they don't know what's going to
No.
happen. They're not... How can they thrive if...
They also...
It's not about the
Yeah.
kids
No.
necessarily, but they're part of it
Mhm.
as part of the family. But it's also about you too.
Yes.
Like, once the kids are gone, are they the only reason you're still together, and then you break up?
Yes. I
Or
think that is part of what we're
Destroy
saying.
your marriage?
Yeah.
And you think, okay, the kids are gone. Let's make this clear.
Yeah.
You know, couples just say, well, the kids are all moved out, or they're old enough to be on their own,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. We can go ahead and get divorced
Yeah.
because we don't like each other. And it's like, what do you think? You think that's going to not do... You think that's going to do nothing
Yeah.
to your kids? It's going to destroy them, and it will destroy their future relationships too. So
Yes.
you'll just perpetuate your, let's be honest, your laziness
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what else,
Your misery.
Misery.
Your own misery. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where you could fix it, but you don't because you're too lazy. You think it's too hard or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm being harsh,
Yeah.
but this is where couples are. A lot of couples are.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's one option. Here's the other option. You can develop some basic habits to keep your home peaceful and create an environment where happiness can be cultivated between the two of you.
yeah,
Right? So this is kind of what we're going to discuss tonight. We wrote down some just basic, this is going to sound basic. It really is. But for a lot of couples, when their kids move out, it is kind of like being newlyweds again. You're looking at this person who's not the same person they were 30 years ago or however long it was when you got married. They're not the same person anymore. And it is can be kind of like starting over. You know,
Yeah.
you're looking at this new person in a sense.
yeah, and that's why this applies to couples in that position where they're 20 or 30 years down the road and their kids are grown, and to newlyweds,
Right.
and if you're in the middle of it,
Right.
right? Whether you have kids or not, you've been married for 10 years or whatever, and you're starting to, what is that? The 7-year itch thing,
Yeah.
right? Which, well, anyway, I won't go into that, but you're in that position. So these habits, if you haven't cultivated them now, then start. And this is what, so we're going to talk about how many we have? 6 or 8?
What did we come up with? Oh Lord.
I don't know.
It looks like there's 5, but we're going to go kind of in depth on some of them. So,
Sure.
the first one we have here is,
So habit number 1.
Yes, habit number 1. We did a whole podcast on this. That's how important we think it is. Start with gratitude. That is the simplest way to encourage your spouse and start to create a happier environment in your house. And because once you start to cultivate gratitude in your own mind, it changes your mindset, not just about your spouse, but about everything.
Yes.
It will. This is a process that I went through a few years back, probably after we were having our issues or whatever.
Yeah.
I just decided that I was going to start thanking you for things, and we like I said, we've had this discussion. So think back.
There's a previous episode on
yes,
that too.
yes, and
But
go back and listen. I
just a
mean, it's
quick
important.
review.
It really is.
It is. This is probably the base, the foundation.
Yeah.
Kind of a foundation for how you, like you said, change your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
If your mindset is moving, drifting toward contempt or something like that toward your spouse,
Yeah.
then your marriage will you're going to destroy your marriage.
Yeah.
If you keep going. But this changes your mindset. And
Yes.
it's not just about your spouse. It's about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right? It changes your whole outlook
Right.
on life itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you are exercising gratitude, however you do it.
Right.
And you're talking about thanking your spouse for things. You said that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people keep a journal and write. There's a book out there. I think we talked about it, but I can't remember what it is. But we talked about this where you just write down 3 things per day and never duplicate. And you can come up until you get like 1,000. And maybe you won't stop, but it's doable.
Yeah.
Right? If you think even the simplest things and you don't duplicate the same things over and over again, and it'll be amazing how your mindset changes toward your outlook on life. No matter where you are in life,
Mm-hmm.
your mindset will change and become more positive and more, you'll be able to tackle things, you'll be able to handle disappointments,
Right.
that sort of thing. This is a big one,
Yeah.
right?
It
I
really
could
is.
Keep going.
It
on
really
about
is.
But
Right.
anyway.
So when you start this, just recognize and admit to yourself that neither one of you are perfect, that you're going to make mistakes, that things aren't always going to go right. Right. That's you need to acknowledge that. You need to put it out there. But once you start on this path, those annoying things that your spouse does, right, will become smaller and smaller.
Right. So
Right.
we kind of jumped into this where, so what a lot of times one spouse will look at the other and say, oh, they do these things. And
That forehead stamp, I think I talked about
we
that.
talked about that. All right. So I don't want to repeat all that, but it's this, how can I say?
You talking
Jump
about?
in there.
Well, I mean, I was just going to go to change the ratio, right?
Well, we'll get there.
Is that-
okay? Yeah, that's the next. It's just how you begin to see your spouse, and you only start to see negative.
Yes.
That's what I was trying
Yeah.
to get at.
Okay.
You only see negative things, and it gets worse and worse because
Yeah.
that's what you focus on.
As human beings, it is I think it's part of our fight or flight response where we just
Maybe.
respond to negative things more readily than we do positive things.
We see them more quickly,
Yeah.
supposedly because it's a safety reflex. You know,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But we're not just animals, we're human.
Yeah, I know that.
So we can think about what we're looking at.
Yeah.
All right. So you're talking about changing the ratio
Right.
of
Change the ratio of criticism to complimenting, right?
yeah, we discussed this last night, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Almost more, not just change the ratio of criticism, but eliminate criticism for now.
Right. Yeah.
And we haven't really kind of introduced, we've talked about habits, but we haven't introduced what the way to start to implement these things. So we're gonna talk about a number of habits.
Right.
And it can sound kind of daunting because it's a bunch of things.
Yeah.
They're all simple, but it's a number of them, right? But let's just say for the next month, you implement this first habit, which is express gratitude.
Yes.
And part of that is eliminate criticism.
Yeah.
And you might think, oh, if I don't nag my husband to take the trash out, then he never will. It's like, let it go, right? Stop nagging, stop criticism. Maybe we'll do a future podcast on this.
Okay.
But right now, we're just saying, stop criticizing.
Right.
Only be grateful.
Right.
Because you're trying to change your mindset. And, you know, there are the benefits that will happen or come out of this, right? Have we mentioned how to train, how to train your spouse? I don't know.
Well,
But-
we're going to do, I
We
think
can
we'll
talk
do a
about that.
separate podcast on
That's
that.
what I'm saying. It's a separate thing. But when you reward your spouse, whether it's husband or wife, right, with gratitude, then they'll slowly begin to start to do those things that you are grateful for, right? So eliminate the nagging.
Yeah. Don't nag. God, ladies, come
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Ladies, this is a girl thing. It's not really a guy thing. I don't know that many men that nag. This is it's just our neurotic behavior, wanting things to be a certain way, and it really is something that we need to let go of. Nagging doesn't help anything. It doesn't make anyone grow. It doesn't contribute to a happy household. And if you do it, nagging won't change anything, and it destroys respect. It destroys respect
For each other.
for
Yeah.
each other. Yes, it does. If your husband comes home from work and he knows that that's what he's going to hear, do you really think he's going to want to come home? He doesn't need to come home to that, right? He doesn't need to have a weekend where here's my honeydew list. Well, okay, I have a honeydew list every week. And you don't have a honeydew list, you have a to-do list, because
Yeah.
men don't have honeydew lists. That's a woman thing, right? It really is.
Sure.
So just take your honeydew list and say, what can we do together?
Well, that's
Can
one
we
thing.
eliminate some of these things together rather than I'm just going to nag you until you don't do that?
Well, all we're saying is get rid of criticism
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Okay? And we're not saying you're never going to be able to bring up larger issues.
Yes.
But get rid of all the little naggy things or the little critical things that you see that seem so big.
Yes.
And this goes both ways. You know, you talk about nagging being a woman thing,
Yeah.
but it goes both
It
ways.
can, yeah.
While men don't nag, they
Right.
might express it in some other way.
Right.
Right.
So my example here,
go with
yeah,
your
I'll
example.
go. I'll explain my example. Because both my parents were sick, off and on for years before they passed away. I had to make multiple trips from Maryland to Indiana, sometimes at the drop of a hat. And when my stepfather passed away, I think I was gone over a week.
Yeah.
It was a week and a half. So it was a long time. I had to leave all 6 kids with you.
Yeah.
And I'm homeschooling them. They're home with me. They're with me 24/7, right? So I am feeding them, I'm taking care of them, I'm doing all this stuff. I have a system, I have a schedule, I have all of that. It had to go out the window because I could leave that with you, but that doesn't mean that that's the way you're going to handle things. It doesn't mean that you're going to feed them the way I would have fed them. It doesn't mean that you're not going to maybe let them stay up late and watch a movie before they, or whatever.
Sure.
Whatever, dads handle things differently. I could have very easily come home from one of those trips and gone over my checklist and been hypercritical because you didn't do things the way I do. Right?
Yeah.
That would have been an easy thing for me to do because it happened multiple times, where I would have to just pick up and go and I would be gone for multiple days.
Right.
And unexpectedly, just drop everything and go. It had to be done. But instead, my mindset was, and I told my kids, this is kind of funny, but I told my kids, I
me.
don't want to know what you ate, what you watched, what was the other? What you ate, what you watched, what you wore.
Yeah.
And I don't want to know what Dad let you watch while I was gone.
Yeah.
I just don't want to know. Because I came home, they were fed, they were still alive, they were okay. The kids were okay. So I didn't even think about it. I just moved on with my life. I said, thank you for looking after the kids while I was gone yet again. And I moved on. And that's a hard thing for a mom to do. Especially when you're a mom like I was, where they're with me all the time and there were certain ways that I did things.
Everybody has a way
Yeah.
that they do things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean those are big things.
Yeah.
In
It was
a
big to
sense,
me.
big to you, but really big. I mean the fact that you had to be gone, but even little things, the same type of
Yeah.
things like how do you load the dishwasher?
Oh, well, see, most of the time I load it and you go back and unload it and load it again.
I just
So-
rearrange it a little bit.
So,
That's
but
all.
It's
That's all.
but see, I could take that, and I could be hurt or disgusted or angry with that, but I don't.
Well, I'm not criticizing you.
No.
I'm just rearranging a little to be more efficient, to get more stuff in there.
And I know that's a thing for you. I'm not the most efficient person. I'm going to get it done, but it might not be done
yeah.
precisely or efficiently.
cool with that.
Yeah, and
Mostly.
mostly you just kind of let that go, but I have to reciprocate. If I've done something and you don't think it was done efficiently, you're going to come back behind me and do it again.
I might. And
okay.
sometimes I let it go.
Yeah.
Say, it doesn't matter.
But see, those are the important words here. It doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of things, what mattered was that I came home and my kids were still alive.
And there was
And
no criticism.
and there was no but they had a good time with Dad. Dad took them somewhere that maybe Mom wouldn't normally take them, or Dad let them stay up late and eat junk food and watch movies and stuff. This stuff that moms don't normally
Not all
do.
week.
No,
but yes,
no, but
I knew enough.
yeah, yeah. So there's an example. That's kind of a bigger example, I guess, of don't criticize, but take that and break it down into its smaller parts. Ladies, can you go out for an evening with your girlfriends and have a nice dinner or whatever? go to a concert and come home and not criticize your husband about the way he put your child to bed, or the dishes are still in the sink, or whatever it is. Can you do that?
I mean, there are two parts to this. One is how things get done.
Yeah.
Right. And things may get done differently by each spouse, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And you just need to let go of
Yes.
the control.
Yeah.
Because it's
harder for women, but
the thing
yes.
will get done.
Yeah.
And the other part is when something doesn't get done, right? And what we're saying is, and this is not just for women, right? But what we're saying is, if something doesn't get done, you gotta let it go.
Let it go.
Don't criticize, because you're
Right.
moving toward a goal,
Yeah.
right? And your idea is to express gratitude,
Right.
and you gotta be explicit about looking for something positive about your spouse,
Right.
right? And maybe there's a reason they didn't do the thing, right? Take the trash out. That's an easy one that just keeps coming to mind. But whatever it is, okay. So it has to do with living with some sort of understanding about where someone is in their life, right?
Right.
And so we're talking about your spouse. So maybe they couldn't get it done. Maybe they just forgot. I mean, there have been plenty of times when you said, "Can you do this?" And I said, "Sure," but I didn't write it down right away. And I was trying to finish the thing that I was doing in that moment. And then I forgot
Yeah.
pretty quickly what you wanted done. And it didn't get done. Right? And I
Yeah.
know that's frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But we've had that prompts conversation between us.
Sure.
We're spending a long time on this one. I think this,
Well, this
because
is a
this
big
one,
one.
this one is kind of the foundation for
Set
the
this
rest of them.
foundation. Yeah. Let's
The
do
other
that.
one, the other one is no gossip. This is one that I adhere pretty strictly to.
And we've talked about it.
Yeah, and we have talked about it before, but I don't badmouth, well, my spouse or my children to other people.
Right.
I don't, it's really rubs up against my convictions to do that kind of thing. I think I've expressed before that if you ask any of my girlfriends if you have any flaws, they'll say, "Yeah, I heard you snore," and that's it. I mean, I just don't. This is not something. I know that it's something that women tend to do when they get
Guys
together.
can do, they can have a gripe session
Sure.
with the guys at work about their wives. The
Sure.
old lady does this,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
wants
yeah.
this, or blah blah blah. So
Don't participate.
what we need to do is say good things,
Yeah,
or if anything's quote unquote negative, it's on the level of they snore.
They snore,
I mean,
yeah.
it's something really small and
Yeah.
funny.
yeah,
And if snoring isn't funny to you, then don't use that one, right? But the idea is that you don't want to repeat, whether it's to other people or to yourself, these negative things, because that it's the same thing. This is
Yeah.
all under mindset,
Right.
all under gratitude. It will mess up your gratitude. You'll be unhappy. You'll be unthankful, if that's
yeah.
a word.
Huh.
Whatever, ingratitude,
Ungrateful.
ungrateful.
Yes.
Sure, but you're expressing that and that becomes part of you,
Yeah,
right? But if you're positive, at least don't participate. But if you participate and say, well, this is what happened. It was this great thing or this good thing.
yeah,
Not only will it preserve your positive mindset, but it might help the people you're talking to
right.
also too,
Yeah.
as well. And maybe they won't include you in their gossip sessions, and that's fine.
I don't get included
Yeah,
anymore.
I mean, that's fine, because why be tempted with
Yeah.
something that you shouldn't be doing?
Right.
Right. Anyway.
Anyway, so to wrap this
my
one
gosh.
up, just practice. Take a month. Practice gratitude. Change your mindset.
1 or 2 months.
1 or 2 months. Put it in a journal if that's something that helps you to write it out. To write out things that you're grateful for. Intentional positivity is what we put at the end of this. So, and you're living with another flawed human being. That's not always always an easy thing
You're
to do.
flawed,
But
they're flawed.
yes, that's the other thing is, when you start to see those things in your spouse, you got to turn the mirror back on yourself. You really do, because you're not perfect either,
Yeah.
and you got to remember that.
Okay, so to set the whole, so here we are I'm trying to express the big picture, right?
Yeah.
We said take 1 or 2 months,
Right.
Right. So this is a long-term
Yes.
project. Well, marriage is a long-term project, but to improve it, look at it as a long-term project or a
Yes.
medium-term project.
Yeah.
All right, 1 to 2 months. You don't have to worry about the other habits yet.
Okay.
Certainly, if you want to, you can. But
Yes.
you don't get overwhelmed. Right, 1 to 2 months. Every day, focus on gratitude.
Find something every day
Find
to say
something.
find something, anything.
Just anything, multiple things
Mm-hmm.
about your spouse, and if you have kids, about them too.
Yeah.
Right? Anything. And make sure it's not the same thing every day. Right? Because what you're trying to do is change your own mindset. And both spouses should be doing this. I kind of get the feeling that we've focused on women, the wives, a lot.
Yeah.
But this applies to the men too, guys. So focus on it.
Yeah.
Right? And take 1 to 2 months and do this thing. Now, then we're going to describe the next habit in a second. And after that 1 to 2 months, you're going to start this other habit. And you don't have to wait,
No.
but start this other habit after 1 to 2 months. But you continue doing the gratitude
Right.
habit,
Yeah.
right? If you've been doing it for 2 months, then it should be easier
Yes.
to do
Yeah.
by the end of 2 months.
Right.
And if you fail, the other thing is if there's some failure, you throw out a criticism and you realize, oh my goodness, just it's okay. Just move on, or
Say you're sorry.
Say you're sorry, and move on,
Yeah.
and try to come up with something positive
Mm-hmm.
instead. Okay, so
So now you've
that's
done
the
you've-
framework,
yeah, right.
Right. That's what I was trying to get at. That's the framework for what you're trying to do over the next period of time, probably a year. Okay.
Yeah.
1 to 2 months. Practice gratitude in every situation, not just with your spouse, with
Right.
everything. Okay. And I think you'll be amazed. So let's go on to habit number 2.
Okay. So we might.
This is specifically for
I think we're going to move through the rest of these.
spouses.
Maybe
I hope
a little.
we go a little faster.
Okay. So dating. A lot of married couples give this up once they get married. Oh, I live with them all the time. I see them every day. Why do it? Why do it? Because it matters. Because it matters that you are taking time specifically to focus on your relationship and each other.
Right.
This is a one of those areas where married couples will drift rather than steer. I'm with them all the time. I don't feel the need to set aside time every week or every 2 weeks, hopefully every week, to go on a date like you used to before you got married,
Yeah.
right?
And-
So
So what are we
It's-
saying?
So I'm saying that you need to continue to do that throughout your married life, not just when you're engaged or whatever it is.
Right. That's true. This is about growing your marriage and getting
Yeah.
to know someone that you will not get to know completely,
Yeah.
no matter how long you've been together.
Right.
Okay. The other picture came to mind is like you're with them all the time, or the evenings and the mornings or whatever,
Right.
and then you go to work or whatever, right? However your life works, but you feel like you're together all the time, and that's great. But what you're doing is actually living out married life.
Mm-hmm.
What you need are actually two things, preferably per week. One is the date,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is just about you, each of you together,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you've gotten to the point, well, if you're just newly married or you're kind of starting to drift, then start this habit up, right? Just focus on each other,
Yeah.
get to know each other, and we'll talk about some stuff in a second. And then the other, let's call it a meeting, is if you can do it weekly, meet together to talk about. I don't want kind of jumping ahead, but this is a thing I think we can cover quickly, is just to have a logistics meeting, right? Talk about who's going to do what, who's going to take who, where you're going to be, that sort of thing. And that's like an hour and a half,
Right.
where you kind of get on the same page each week, right? And this is not a date,
Right.
though nothing wrong with it turning into one, but
It's about setting expectations.
it's about setting expectations for the week, planning for the next 7 days, right? What are you going to do with the kids? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right? So that you're on the same page because you're trying to do things together. And then, of course, the more important one is the date,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the second one is easy because you can do it at home. Date is a little bit harder. You might have to get a babysitter. If you don't have kids, of course, you can just go do it.
Right.
And if I don't know how to say this other than just if you work long hours and you can't figure it out, then maybe you're working too many hours, right? You need to consider that.
Yeah.
What's the priority? You can advance your career. I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, you can advance your career and destroy your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can have a marriage and maybe your career is a little slower, but you haven't lost your career,
Right.
right? Maybe you're not the hard go-getter that you want to be, but you still have a great marriage
Right.
and you still have that career. You just moved along a little slower.
Well, and this was something we kind of discussed last night where, you can plug away at your career, but if you got in an accident or you had to quit that job, your boss is going to
Or the-
replace you within 2 weeks.
Yeah. Or there's
know,
a layoff. And
Or
they
there's
may
yeah,
decide,
sure, there's a layoff.
You're gone. I mean,
But replacing a spouse is a little bit that's
you're-
a little bit more involved
You're
than,
in-
know.
well, let's say it. I want to say it this way. It's like you are indispensable to your family.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Your spouse can go marry someone else after a divorce,
Sure.
but that's messed up. Right?
Yeah.
And we have seen it. You've
Multiple
experienced
times.
in your
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
I've seen it in my family. It's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, well, I don't know how.
It throws a monkey wrench
It
into
throws
everything.
like, yeah, but it's really messed up. I mean, it's beyond monkey wrench.
Yeah.
Right? So why go there?
Right.
Okay? Preserve your marriage first and foremost. And, you'll have a job and you'll do a career.
Right.
And you can figure out ways to work it out. Okay, but let's get off that.
Okay.
I think I've hammered it enough.
So
So
now
dating.
you've practiced
So we're dating.
gratitude for a month or two. and now you're going to start going out on dates with your spouse. And this doesn't have to be the elaborate dinner, the elaborate expensive dinner, or getting dressed up. For us,
It can be.
it can
but
be,
it
sure.
doesn't
I mean,
have to
no,
be.
no, that's kind of fun sometimes, get dressed up and go on a date. But I will tell you, after 30 years of marriage, that most of our dates have not been that.
No, but they've been great because either we choose to do at home, and we've talked about that before. I cook a meal, you cook a meal.
Right.
We cook together.
We cook together, yeah.
And then we do something like this,
Yeah.
where we're talking to you guys, or we do something else, or we play games, or
Yeah,
we
sometimes
answer
we just
questions, and,
sometimes we just pick a goofy movie and
or that
open a bottle of wine and just hang out together. I mean, it's
without the kids.
Okay, yes, but our kids, that's it. Our kids know date night is for us, and they are not to interrupt us. They know that.
They knew that when they were little.
Yes.
You hear me, kids? And you knew that. And we got babysitters, and the kids knew it.
We paid a lot of money for babysitters.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can work this out. Trade. We've talked
yes.
about this before,
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah,
let's
yeah.
not go
Yeah,
into
yeah.
it.
We did. Yeah.
But just keep going.
It is about spending time with your spouse, and when you go on a date, you really should act like you're still dating, because it's like you said before, you're never going to completely know this
right.
person. And okay, so say you start going out on dates, it's awkward because you haven't done it since you were engaged or since you were dating before you got, whatever it is.
What's no more awkward than if you met a brand new person and
Okay.
you're
Yeah.
dating them, right? When you guys first met.
Right. But there are things that you can do together that will help you along the way. Things like now there are all these websites with questions that you can ask each other. Some of them are not appropriate, but a lot of them are fine.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about the Gottman Institute,
Right.
which
Just Google that.
Yeah, Google that. They have an app, and they have questions, and
Right.
we still get something out of that from time to time. Like that will
Right.
spark
Right,
conversation
right.
between us. There's cards you can buy that have spouse
Like games or
games, yeah, that
cards,
kind
yep.
of thing. We've done dance lessons.
Yep.
Yeah, we have. Neither one of us are good at it, but we just have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Do something. together.
ask open-ended questions.
Open-ended questions.
Yes. Not yes
just
or no.
yes or
questions.
no. Right.
Right. Listen to hear. Don't interrupt.
Right.
Right? So you're listening to your spouse.
Oh, right. We talked about that.
Yeah. Repeat back what your spouse said to make sure you understand what they're saying.
Right.
If your spouse feels understood, they're going to communicate with you more. Right?
Right. Okay. Let's not go by this too fast. I mean, this
Okay.
is a big thing
Okay.
for any kind of relationship. But so in the context of your spouse, and it works in any kind of relationship. Repeat back what you said or what you think they said in your own words. The idea is to they need to see that you understood them, right?
Right.
Not just listen to the words and you're thinking ahead about what you're going to say, right? Don't do that, right? Hear what they're saying, right? And listen, and then be able to explain it back. And then when they agree that you have
Understood.
them, then you can move on, right? Ask questions or present your perspective or whatever. And it's
Right.
just, it's a respectful thing to do in any context. So let's talk about, like, what if you've been married for 20 to 30 years and you haven't been dating.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea here is to just start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be awkward, but if you think about it as if your spouse is someone you're just meeting,
Yeah.
what would you do?
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, I know there's all the baggage and all the stuff that you've done in the past, but just put that aside for the date to get going again. And the idea is to get going again, right? So act as if you've just met this person, and how would you treat them? You certainly would treat them with respect, and you would treat them, you'd want to get to know them, right? And really, your spouse after 20 years is a different person than they were 20 years ago or 30
Right.
years ago.
Right.
Okay. So that's why we don't want to throw this out just because you've been married already. Just you start doing it, and you can find ways to do it. And we talked about questions and all that. Often we'll talk about what we've read. If we're reading a book, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about
What we've learned.
what we've learned lately, right? So, and that's a whole other subject, but just be learning all the time,
Right.
and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Finally, so you kind of mentioned this, the logistics meeting was habit number 3, and we've already talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so dating,
Right.
begin that habit and do it for 1 to 2 months.
And
At the same time, doing gratitude,
Yeah.
continuing that.
Right. But the dating needs to be, you have this evening, whatever evening it works for your lifestyle. And that's what you do. It doesn't get canceled. It doesn't get postponed. It doesn't get pushed around unless somebody is puking or dying. You go on a date. You go on a date. And it doesn't even have to be go on a date. It can be, we've got this 2 hours at home and this is our date.
Yeah.
Like you said, we're cooking together, or you cook for me or I cook for you. Whatever it is, we're sitting at the table and we're having this date night
Yeah.
time.
I want to say, we established this habit young in our marriage.
Yeah.
And the kids learned
Yeah.
very quickly that, this was date night. And it's almost like they were excited about it, right? Because
They liked having babysitters.
they had a
and-
babysitter, and they got to do things that they maybe normally couldn't do,
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it was just different.
Yeah.
Right. For kids, it's just a different thing.
Yeah.
So, but I just wanted to express gratitude to the kids.
Okay. Yeah.
For that understanding.
And it's funny, they're all grown-ups now, right?
Yeah.
But they still understand that, well, as of right now, it's Friday.
Right.
It's
But
a
whatever
Friday.
night
It's a
it
Friday.
is, yeah.
It's a Friday night, right? But they know that Friday night is date night. So if we've only got one living with us now, but when we had 2 or 3 living with us, if they came home Friday night, they knew to leave us alone, and that was it.
Right.
That whatever night we established as date night, they were going to leave us alone, and that's all there was to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They don't text us or call us or anything like that on date night.
Not on date night. But anyway, so kids, if you're listening, thank you.
Okay, so you briefly went over have the weekly meeting about logistics.
So that's habit number 3.
Sure.
You can implement it at the same time,
Yeah.
or in another month.
Right.
So here we are, down
Month
the road, month
3, 4, something
3,
like
4,
that.
5,
Yep.
6, somewhere in there.
Yep.
Habit number 4.
Right. Habit number 4: cultivate physical intimacy. This. For us, it looks like a lot of things. We've always been, we've always had the physical connection, pretty much. My parents set a very good example in this regard. I'm not talking about the parents that passed away. I'm talking about the parents that
Your real dad.
my biological father and my stepmother.
Yeah.
They coached us quite a bit when we first got married. They were our primary
Counselor.
premarital counselors and postmarital counselors. You know, they were just they've always been there for us. But one thing that is to this day a constant in their marriage is I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about the physical connection every day, right?
Right.
And you know, if you're one of those couples that have sex every day, good, you know, good on you.
Sure.
That, you know, that's awesome. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about simple things like we hold hands.
Yep.
We hold hands. No matter where we go, if we're walking together, we are holding hands. My kids have seen this our entire married life. They don't know anything different. And we're starting to see them walk it out with their spouses too. Right? Things like if we're sitting on the couch together, even if we're doing different things, which can happen. I'm watching documentaries because that's my thing, and you're watching YouTube on your phone or whatever it is, right?
It can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've got my feet in your lap, or I'm touching your arm,
Yeah,
or some, you know,
there's
it's
some kind of
something,
physical
right? There's
connection.
physical contact. When we fall asleep at night, we're generally we're hot. You know, we're like hot. I'm not saying we're hot. I'm saying we're both warm natured.
Think we're hot.
We're both warm natured. So falling asleep, cuddling up to each other is usually not an option. But you know, I'll reach my foot over and I'll touch your foot.
Yeah.
Or things like. And if I wake up in the middle of the night and you're rolled over to my side, I'll grab your hand. Things like that, right? So there's just this constant physical contact between us.
Yeah, because it's a warmth.
Yeah.
Brings a warmth
Yeah.
to your relationship. It's amazing how when you decide to do something physical like that, holding
Yeah.
hands or whatever, that it changes the mental and
Yeah.
spiritual as well.
Yeah.
And we've talked about, like, when we've been in an argument or when we're arguing,
Right.
we'll still hold hands.
Yeah.
And that changes how you do the argument,
Yeah, it does. It does.
right? So there's that.
So-
but also,
Well, I think what we're saying is if this is not something that's been a habit in your marriage, then just start by holding hands.
yeah,
When you go
Start
out
with something
together,
simple.
or you know, when you're whatever you're doing, if you're together walking side by side, just hold hands. You know, just start with that.
yeah,
And then it will develop into, hopefully it will develop into more physical intimacy. I
yeah.
mean,
And
sex is an obvious physical intimacy thing.
yeah, but it's almost like if you haven't been dating for a while, you've been drifting along,
Right.
right? Don't have sex for a little while. Right?
Okay.
The idea is that to get to know each other as people first,
Right.
again, right? If you're really that in that position,
Right.
right? Don't make it about sex, like the evening is always going to end that way, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to get to know each other as people,
Right.
and that'll come again later, right?
I mean, but sex is, it's also very important for maintaining.
And I'm not saying no.
Okay.
I'm just talking about like if your relationship is really that far,
Right.
right, and you want to redevelop it, you want to rekindle it, whatever, right, and you're dating. Yeah, I know today's hookup culture. You know, you could have sex after the first date, but that's dumb.
It
And
is
it's
kind of dumb.
Stupid.
Yeah, it really
right?
is dumb.
Seriously, and I don't want to. Give me a second here, men. If you don't want to be responsible for a kid until you're married, then don't have sex until you're married. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a mini rant, but it's just, absolutely stupid for a quick little bit of pleasure to cause that, because and it's your responsibility, right? As a man, you be a leader. You lead and you respect your date. Men, respect your date and don't expect sex and don't even want it until you found the one you want to marry. You marry her and then have all the sex you want. And we've talked about sex before.
Right. Yeah. We did
in previous
podcasts.
episodes
Yeah.
about how great it is
Right.
between just two people,
Right.
rather than hooking up.
Right.
Anyway, I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, okay,
We were talking about sex,
yes, but
you know.
we're also talking about little ways to cultivate the physical intimacy, right? We
Yeah.
said holding hands, greet each other. You come home from work, she comes home from work, you get home from work, she's been there all day with the kids. Take 5 minutes, hug each other, kiss each other. How was your day? That kind of thing. Do it. I leave. You work at home, right? You're telecommuting at this point, and
Yep.
and I leave. I go to the gym and I do my thing, and then I coach. But you make a point of getting up and walking me to the door, and giving
Yeah.
me a hug and a kiss and saying, have a good day, I love you, or whatever, before I leave. And then when I get home, you will get up from your desk, get up from your work, and come over and greet me.
Yeah.
Or I will go over to, if you're in the middle of something, I'll go over and give you a kiss on the forehead, just, like, I'm not going to interrupt you or whatever. But that's another simple physical intimacy thing that you can establish, right?
And it might feel weird
Sure.
or awkward.
At
This is what I'm
first.
talking about.
Sure.
At first. But by being intentional with these physical things, you, as I said before, you can develop a closer connection mentally and spiritually. So, it's kind of a fake it till you make it. And I'm not saying you're faking it, but it's that concept where,
Yeah.
You do something until you get it. And then that bleeds over, or that leads the other part of our lives, right? Not just physical, but like I said, mental and,
Right.
and spiritual.
Yeah.
So
Another thing that we do, well, every day, we do it all the time. If I walk past you, then if you're at your desk and you're working, I'll just run my fingers along your shoulders.
yeah,
Or I'll stop and give you a kiss on the forehead.
right.
If I'm in the kitchen and I'm working or whatever, if you walk through the kitchen, you're gonna grab my butt. It's just, it's just that touching each other when we walk past. We're both doing separate things, but hey, we're still together.
Yeah, exactly.
So cultivate the physical intimacy and the holding hands. Start that when you start dating. You're going out on a date with your spouse, hold their hand. You and
Yeah.
I will clear stuff off the table so that we can reach across and hold each other's hand while we're sitting there. We got a free bottle of champagne out of that once. I don't know, maybe it wasn't free, but I don't know. That was when we visited California. We were sitting there and we were holding hands.
Yeah.
And the guy came over and he said, "Are we celebrating something?" And I said, "Yeah, we've been married 30 years."
Right.
And he brought us a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
So
we're not saying
you guys
doing
are so cute. It's like, okay, we're
Don't
cute.
do
I don't
it.
know.
Don't do it for the champagne,
No.
but that's a bonus, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're just sitting
We
there
didn't think
talking to
twice
each other.
about it. We're this
Just
is what
hold
we
hands
do.
while you're talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, physical intimacy.
Yep,
All right.
Yep. Number 5.
We have gone very long tonight.
a little bit.
Yep.
Okay, number 5.
So, number 5 is
Gosh, we're not going to be able to finish this.
Yeah,
This is
we
gonna
are.
be 2 parts. Come on.
No, it's good. It's good.
on.
It'll be long, but it's okay. Work on yourself. Right?
Keep going.
So, make the best version of yourself for your spouse. So, you got yourself in great shape so that you could get the hot guy, the hot girl, whatever it is, right? you're the best version of yourself when you get married. You hope, right?
When you're out looking for
when you're out
somebody,
looking for a spouse, you're going to present yourself in the best light possible,
Sure.
right? You're going to be in shape, you're going to be healthy, all of that stuff. So then you get married, and what do? Let yourself go.
Well, people talk about that.
Yeah.
Letting yourself go.
Yeah. But, I mean, go out and take a walk. It's happening, right? This is a bad thing
Sure.
that we've let happen to our society, where we let ourselves go. That should never be. That shouldn't be part of your marriage.
Right.
I have them now, so I don't have to work on myself anymore. That is absolutely the wrong way to look at it.
Yeah. I always thought it was funny about this dad bod thing,
Yeah.
where women actually think that's great. I mean, no. I mean, a dad bod is, let's get real here. A dad bod is ugly. A dad bod is unhealthy.
Yeah.
It probably represents drinking too much.
Yeah.
It means
Obviously eating too much.
obviously maybe eating too much or eating the wrong things. That's a whole nother subject. Or diseases in your future
Yeah.
that can be avoided.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
So, man, don't settle for a dad bod. You want a six pack. You may never get it, but that's what you're reaching for, right? You're reaching for something where you work out, you eat right, because you're trying to be healthy.
Yeah.
You're trying to be the best self,
Right.
both for yourself and for your spouse, because
Right.
in a sense you're pursuing, even though you've married her,
Right.
you're still pursuing her. So you want to be your best self.
Yeah. Yeah. And it goes the same for us ladies. Okay, well, you came out right and said it, so I'm going to say it too. Body positivity is not a thing. It is not. This is not the way we should view ourselves. We should always want to be the best version of ourselves, which means eating healthy, exercising, journaling, meditating, praying. We need to be doing those things because men are extremely visual creatures.
Yes, we are.
And if you were this smoking hot 10 when he married you and you let yourself go, his eye is going to wander. It's just a fact. I mean, there's just...
Men, you should not let it wander.
No, you shouldn't. And I have to
But
give you
the
a lot of
temptation
credit.
is there.
Yes, you are tempting your husband to let his eye wander. That's the way I should say it. So we should want to be the best versions of ourselves. And I'm not talking about spending thousands of dollars on plastic surgery and
No, you don't
chemical
have to spend
peels
any
and
money at
all
all.
this stuff.
Just eat right.
Yes, eat right, but my beauty routine is mostly stuff that I make in our own kitchen. It's not expensive beauty products and tons of makeup. It's not any of that, right? I make sure I get to the gym, or I either get to the gym or work out 5 days a week. That is a must for me, and it's not just to make myself more attractive for you. It is for my own mental health. I make sure I pray every day, either a short time or a long time, whatever it is. I make sure I pray every day. I keep very close tabs on what I eat and how much I drink. Yes, I drink. It is not that much.
Right.
Right.
Same.
I make sure that we generally make sure we get to bed at the same time every night.
Right.
For the most part, right? Except for maybe Friday night, we might stay up a little later because it's our date night.
Sure.
But you need to make sure that you are keeping the best version of yourself for your spouse and for your marriage.
And this falls into that same sort of thing where you're doing this to, in one sense, to make your spouse happy, and
Right.
both spouses are trying to make each other happy,
Yes, yeah.
rather than just focusing on yourself, your own happiness, right? I want to make you happy
Yeah.
by being able to not have to suck in my fat, right? Right? Have a six pack or at least a flat stomach and muscles,
Yeah.
right? To be strong enough to defend the home or defend you when we're out in public, or just look good.
Yeah.
And guess what? What does that lead to? But it leads to me feeling good.
Yeah.
Not just mentally about myself, but physically. Whew, I think I went off on a tangent.
A little bit. That's okay.
But anyway, yeah. So it's that you're working on yourself for your spouse, but you benefit,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so you get both.
Yeah.
You get a happy spouse,
Yeah.
and you get the benefits of being healthy.
Yeah.
And this is, there's just such a temptation to go into how to do this, but that's a whole nother podcast,
It kind of is, yeah.
right? So anyway,
So this has gone very long, but we are going to wrap this up now. So
are we?
I hope.
Oh my gosh!
So-
All right.
So now you've established these habits, right? You're
You're trying to.
practicing. You're practicing gratitude. You're going out on dates on a regular basis, right?
And each habit, once you start it, you keep doing it
Yes.
as you add the next one.
Right.
So let's
Yes.
put that in perspective.
Yeah.
If what did we describe? 5 or 6? 5.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you spent 1 to 2 months on each one, say you spent 2 months on each one strictly,
Right.
right? After 10 months or a year, you have been expressing gratitude for
Right.
an entire year.
You're going to be a different person.
You will be different.
You will
And your
be a
spouse
different
will
person.
be different.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
All right. And now you've established that this is date night either once a week or every other week. Your kids know it. Everybody around you knows it. This is date night. My friends know.
And that's habit number
That
3?
was
2.
number 2.
That was number
yeah,
2.
that was number 2.
So after 8 to 10 months, you've been
Dating
dating
again. Yeah.
again. And your kids realize that this is date night.
Yeah.
And
And it's important.
yes, and it's important, and you've got to know each other that much more.
Yeah. And it never stops. I
Right.
do
And then
remember.
you just keep going.
I do remember my dad saying, I am so grateful that I will never get to know Sherry completely. He's talking about my stepmom.
Yep.
They've been married 40 plus years. And he would still say that.
Yeah.
That he does not know her completely. Because if you're growing as a person, then you're going to be changing.
You're changing.
Anyway,
And you're always learning about inner desires,
right.
inner growth. I mean,
Yeah.
as you grow and as your spouse grows, you become different people,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah.
And then you want to communicate that.
Yeah.
And then you support each other.
Right.
But that's, this
Okay,
is something
so-
you can develop
Right.
just by developing 5 habits over the course of a year, and then keep going with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and honestly, once you cultivate these habits, you want it. It's
Yeah.
not something where my favorite night of the week is our date night.
Absolutely. Me too.
And I love that you still want to be physically intimate with me, not just sex, but outside of sex.
Right.
Right? I love that you feel like you can come to me and tell me anything.
Yeah.
I like that. That's what I want our relationship to be.
So that
So,
leads into this
yes.
overarching.
So the
thing.
overarching thing, yeah. So tell the truth to each other even when it hurts,
Yep.
right? You got to be honest at all times. So
you're not
just
perfect
yeah,
people. So
remember, yeah,
you're gonna mess up. You're gonna
yes,
do this or that, and you need to tell the truth.
yes,
Don't hide something.
right, yeah,
Okay. There was a big thing. So we talked about earlier about putting aside criticism
right,
completely. Right.
Mhm.
You're not going to criticize, and we're not saying you're never going to get there where you might say this needs to change.
Yeah.
Okay. But how much progress have you made so far? Really?
yeah,
Just spend a year doing this sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and 99% of those things that you want changed become so small that it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And then, overarching, as you do these habits over the year, tell the truth to each other.
Right.
Don't lie. Don't hide
yeah,
something.
Yeah.
Right? And telling the truth doesn't mean it's not an excuse to criticize. The truth is, you need to be taking out the garbage. Right? That's not what we're talking about.
right,
Right? We're talking about telling the truth about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is, I did this and it was a mess up. Or I yelled at the kids.
Yeah.
This is a small local thing, right?
yeah,
And I told them I'm sorry and you
Yeah.
need to know,
yeah,
right? So it's like a little bit of confession, a little
Yeah.
bit of just telling the truth,
yeah,
right? So it's telling the truth about yourself, not telling the truth about your spouse
right,
yet,
yeah.
right? And after you, well, go ahead. Before I say my thing, go ahead. you
Well,
have
I
something
mean,
else to add?
the only other thing we have here is just remember that you're a team.
Yep,
You're not on opposing teams. You're on the same team.
yeah. You face all the problems of life together,
Right.
problems of raising kids together. You present a united front to your kids.
Yes. We weren't always great at that.
We weren't. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But we saw that when you show us a strong, growing marriage and a united front, that we're together, we believe this is the right thing, right? And we're open to being wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and even showing respect to the kids when they're old enough to express, I think this is wrong. We show respect and we explain and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? We show that united front, and even if they don't like the decision, they still feel secure.
Yeah.
They still feel like their parents love them,
Yeah.
And this is about kids,
Yeah.
but we're talking about marriage, right?
Right.
Right. Keep
Did you
your
have
marriage.
But did you have a final point?
Well,
You said you did.
okay. So the final thing is,
Because we've gone an hour and 20 minutes. This could be one of our longest.
oh my gosh! All right. So let me see if I can do this real quick. So we talked about habit number 1: no criticism.
Right.
Right. So when do you get to say, I think this is wrong?
Right.
Right. If you are drifting along or careening along in your marriage and things aren't great, that's what this is for, right? You're not going to hurt things by spending a year changing your mindset
Right.
into a positive mindset about your spouse,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm saying both of you doing this at the same time, not
Right.
just one. And after 8 months to a year doing this, like I said earlier, 99% of the things that you might have a problem with are really not things you're going to have a problem with,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're just the little things that, everybody's different.
Yeah.
And you recognize that and you let them go, and it's no big deal.
Right.
Because your relationship is so much better
Right.
after a year. And then, what if there's a thing that's big, and you think it ought to be changed, right? And I'm not going to go into what that might be, because maybe that's our next podcast. So we're not saying that there's no room for the things that absolutely need to change,
Right.
right? But what we're saying here is just take that first period of time, 6 months to a year, 8 months to a year, whatever it is, whatever you need to get to the point where most of the problems aren't problems anymore. And then we can talk about the process of bringing about a change that's actually needed.
Right.
Okay? And I'm not going to go into that, but I just wanted to say that we're not leaving that out. Why don't we just say right now that maybe the next podcast is we'll talk about that.
Right. Okay.
Okay? And where are we at now?
We're at an hour and 21 minutes.
My gosh. Faithful listeners.
Well, I hope. But I also hope that if you are either newly married, been married for a few years, or you've been married for a long time, that, even if we went off the rails here a little bit, here and there, that you can take the 5 habits, right? So what... dating, gratitude,
I'll put them in the show notes,
right? Gratitude, dating, logistics, cultivating intimacy, and work on yourself. I hope that you can extract those 5 and work on them, and work on them solidly for a year. Like, really, I'm committed to this marriage. I want it to work. I don't want a divorce. Divorces are expensive and messy, and they're awful.
And that's a whole nother podcast.
No. Okay.
What's going on in our country?
Right. Right.
With no-fault divorce,
Yes.
for instance.
Yeah.
We'll get into
But
that.
anyway,
Not
so
now,
we hope that you can extract those 5 things and start to work on making your marriage what it should be. And, leave comments if you start working on these things and you start to see progress. We'd love to hear about it.
That's true. We would.
We want to hear that people are making steps toward making their marriages better. But we have gone very, very long, so I think we should wrap this up.
Okay. So you can send questions
Yes.
or comments to, what is our email address? marriageonthehalfshell
Yeah.
at gmail.com.
At Gmail. Yep.
Tell us what you started.
Yeah.
If you
Start a
started
habit.
something.
Yeah, start a habit. Do it for a couple of weeks and let us know what your progress
Yeah.
is. We'd love to hear that.
And if you have questions about a specific thing, let us know.
Yes.
If we don't know the answer, we'll find out.
Yeah.
And we'll respond. We'll try to respond to that. We will respond to that.
Right.
Okay.
So we hope you have a great evening. Go out and express gratitude. Have a date night. And get out and take a walk. Get some exercise.
Touch each other
And touch each
Not
other
in a
all the
weird
time.
way.
Yes.
while you're out in public anyway.
So this has been Marriage
Thanks
on the Half Shell, Raw and Exposed.
Thanks
Have a
for
nice
listening.
evening.
Yeah, haven't do that.